Okay, here we are. Good morning, UU Churchers. I am doing my first ever Facebook Live since we were not able to gather in person today. And I am going to offer some of the content of the service that we would have had at church. So hello, welcome, and let's get started. I hope that you are all warm and cozy wherever you are. Maybe you have some hot coffee in hand, like you probably would here, and getting a nice cozy start to the day. I am going to start with our chalice lighting that we share every week, and I have a chalice right here. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. Excuse me. I'd like to invite you as we start this time of online worship to take a moment to center yourself as we would in our sanctuary space. Maybe you want to get comfortable wherever you are. Maybe you want to close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths and bring yourself fully into this present moment. I'll put the chalice where you can maybe watch the flame if that helps. As we just take a moment of silence together wherever we all are in all our different places. All right. Hopefully you have found your center. I wanted to share our reading that we had planned for today. Our monthly theme this month is salvation. And this reading is from the 20th century theologian Reinhold Niebuhr. And it goes like this. Nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime. Therefore, we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. No virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own. Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. I'm going to give you a moment of silence to contemplate that reading while I grab a Kleenex. I'll be right back. Here's your chalice. All right, so I'm going to try one of Facebook's interactive features. Because in person, I was going to have you raise your hands. So if you would have raised your hand in person, maybe you can click the like button. So I'm curious about what percentage among us here in mid-Missouri, who among us has been approached by someone at some point in your life to ask you if you have been saved. I'm waiting to see if we get any likes. All right. So, oh, there's one. Oh, how exciting. Hi. All right. There's another one. Yes. It's a question that is pretty common in this part of the country. Okay, but have you been saved? Perhaps you are saved every day by something larger than yourself, something that transforms your failing, falling human foibles into learning, hope, or grace, or something that at least holds you in care when you mess up. My hope is that by the end of this sermon, you might think you have indeed been saved even for a moment. So this year we're exploring loaded words together, and March's loaded word is a big one for me, salvation. As many of you know, and some of you don't, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I got asked about the state of my soul a lot. Have you been saved? A classmate would invariably ask me on the playground. And the first time I received this question, I didn't actually understand what they meant. Saved from what? I unwittingly replied, only to receive the gleeful reply that a wiser second grader might expect. Saved from the fires of hell. Now, I was growing up Unitarian Universalist, and even if I wasn't 100% sure what it meant to grow up Unitarian Universalist, I did know that we didn't believe in hell. So usually I would answer, I don't need to be saved. I'm just fine. Unfortunately, this response left the state of my soul open as a tempting prize to be won for Jesus by classmates growing up in a religious context very different from my own. So I soon sought a more conclusive answer. Luckily, I learned in Sunday school about Universalism, the second half of our name, Unitarian Universalism. And from that lesson, I gleaned a very simple definition of our religious forebears' belief in universal salvation, that all are saved. And after that, when I was asked if I was saved, I would usually respond with a simple, yes, I'm saved. Sometimes I would sneak in, and so is everyone else, just to throw them off. But of course, that usually meant I was in for even more argument of a different sort. Yes, I'm saved, and so is everyone. In 1789, Hosea Ballou, a 19-year-old preacher's son in Richmond, New Hampshire, stepped forward to the dais at a Baptist tent revival to get saved. He was moved by the preaching, but as he wrote later in a letter to a friend, instead of being overcome by fear of God's wrath, as the preacher intended, he found himself struck by the expansiveness of God's love. And this actually caused him no little concern. He wrote in the letter, if he did not stand in appropriate fear and trembling before a vengeful God, had his soul actually been saved? He was worried. So he turned to the Bible, and there he found, to his surprise, that none of the theological trappings of his Baptist upbringing were present in the text. As he read the text, he found no evidence that all people were damned except for a small elect few. He found no evidence that Jesus suffered and died in gruesome substitution for human sin. He found no evidence that Jesus was himself God. So he read the text closely, and through doing so, he became a Universalist, convinced that the love of God was all-redeeming, because no human sin could be more powerful than God's unfathomably great love, as evidenced in the life of Jesus. He believed that the death of Jesus did not achieve some substitution of atonement, but that it released such a great love into the world that we should surely all be overcome by it. And so Ballou came to believe that his soul had been saved, in the same way that he now believed each person's soul was saved, by a compassion so large and so powerful that it could not and would not leave anyone or anything behind. By the age of 20, Ballou had begun an itinerant ministry, circuit riding from tent revival to small country church throughout rural New England, preaching at charismatic tent meetings the very, very good news of universal salvation, the gospel of God's irresistible love, and the moral mandate to live in accordance with that love. In a central text of the early Universalist faith, Treatise on Atonement, Ballou wrote, "There is nothing in heaven above nor in earth beneath that can do away sin but love. And we have reason to be eternally thankful that love is stronger than death, that many waters cannot quench it nor the floods drown it, that love has the power to remove the moral maladies of mankind and make us free from the law of sin and death, to reconcile us to God, and to wash us pure. O love, thou great physician of souls, what a work hast thou undertaken! All souls are thy patients, prosperous be thy labors." Hosea Ballou is now known alongside a contemporary of his, John Murray, as one of the founders of American Universalism, a sect that grew rapidly and spread like wildfire through the revival tents of the young United States. Indeed, by 1850, Universalism's 500,000 adherents made it the sixth largest denomination in the country. Although its lack of institutional strength and easily co-opted core tenet led to a later precipitous decline. We are no longer the sixth largest denomination in the country by any close stretch. 20th century Universalist minister Gordon McKeeman wrote that Universalism came to be called the gospel of God's success, the gospel of the larger hope. He wrote, "Picturesquely spoken, the image of Universalism was that the last unrepentant sinner would be dragged screaming and kicking into heaven, unable to resist the power and love of the Almighty." The last unrepentant sinner would be dragged, kicking and screaming into heaven. What an image. I no longer believe that I don't need to be saved. I'm fine. I've gotten to know myself too well to believe that. But neither do I believe that mine or anybody's soul is in eternal peril. No evangelical apocalyptic author Tim LaHaye, no one will be left behind. What I believe now is that we are, every single one of us, saved despite ourselves, over and over again, every day of our lives, in this worldly ways, by the power of a love that is greater than any of us individually, and perhaps even greater than the sum of all of us combined. I believe that we all get stuck in isolation and despair, and I believe that love calls us forth from our stuck places into its movement, which is irresistible. That's how we're saved. I believe that we are fragile creatures in a beautiful and terrible world that breaks our hearts. And I believe that even in the midst of that world and that brokenness, we are dragged, kicking and screaming toward wholeness. Even when lingering in the brokenness feels safer than venturing beyond its familiar shores. That's how we are saved. I believe that love and grace are more powerful than me, and that they persist despite my complete incapacity to earn them or outrun them. Thank God. That is how we are saved. The poet Nayira Waheed wrote this juicy little tidbit of a poem in 2016 that makes me laugh and then pause and think, oh, yes. She writes, "May love find you, even when you are specifically strategically hiding from it. To me, this is a wonderful contemporary translation of universalism, of the divine love that drags us kicking and screaming back into alignment with itself. The promise of universalism is a love that seeks us out, even and especially when we feel most tempted to hide our faces, most unworthy of love's gaze. And let's be real, we spend a lot of time specifically, strategically hiding from love. Possibly because some part of us knows it will never leave us unchanged. Last week, I used temporary tattoos to try out the tattoos I would get if I ever found the courage to get tattoos. There was one on each forearm, and all that's left now is a little gunk. But they said, "Grace abounds, love abides." And these are the core truths of my Universalist part of my faith, the things of which I most often need to be reminded. Grace abounds, love abides. Love abides. It's not the same thing as love wins. It's not saying everything on this earth will inevitably be transformed in our lifetimes. It's saying that love stays. It's always there, ready for us when we are ready for it. It does not abandon us, but lures us toward its practice, invites us with unlimited second chances to try over and over and over again to live up to its call. Love abides. The 19th century circuit-riding Universalist evangelist Quillen Shin, and our Universalist history is full of people riding horseback and preaching fiery sermons all over the country. It's such a fun history. So his name was Quillen Shin, and he once said, "There is no hell for any of us to fear outside of ourselves." There is no hell for any of us to fear outside of ourselves. And that is why I still need saving perpetually, because there is plenty of hell within. My soul does not need to be saved from eternal damnation, but it is regularly saved from isolation, from despair and cynicism, from all the hells that we create for ourselves and each other in this life, by the love that I experience in relationship and in this world. So, what is the state of my soul? For those who would inquire, the state of my soul is tenderness, in light of the injustices of the world, and in light of the tragedies in my life and in yours, and in light of all the ways I fail to live up to my intentions. But the state of my soul is also strength, because of the grace I have received, because of the second chances I've been given, because of my family and friends who call me back, and because of you, my community. Those are some of the ways that I know and experience that love abides. So if I walked back onto the playground of my youth today and was asked the question again, have you been saved? I think given what I know now, I would answer, every day. I am saved by community. I am saved by kindness. I am saved by love every day. And I hope that you are too. Love is not all-powerful in the physical sense. People die of cancer and depression and car wrecks no matter how much we love them. Love does not save lives by extending them forever. But love's power permeates the cycles of time and space. Love does save lives, in the no less real sense that love preserves us and all that we love. The circle of love holds us always. What is once connected cannot be unbound or unwoven, and this is the contemporary Universalist claim, that love will not let us go, that love will not exclude anyone or anything from its ever-widening circles, and that in those circles of love, nothing is lost. On the wall of my office, I've posted a poem by the Rabbi Rami Shapiro that I've shared in church probably 3 or 4 times already, but it's perfect for our Universalist gospel of the 21st century. He writes, "We are loved by an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us, even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved by an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting." And his last stanza is what makes this work for Universalist humanists. He writes, "We are loved by an unending love, embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love." That is our 21st century universalism. That is what saves us even despite ourselves. The promise that love may find us still, that it abides even when we are specifically, strategically hiding from it. And so my wish for you is that it may be so for you. And I'm going to conclude by singing a hymn that was written, the words are by one of our contemporary UU theologians, Rebecca Parker. And the melody is by a woman named Elizabeth Norton. And I hope that we can bring this in again when we can all sing it together, because it makes a beautiful round. But I'm just going to go ahead and sing it. And if you, in your own home, want to join in, feel free. It talks about the individual first, and then it loops through the same words with the collective. So it goes like this. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. I'm going to do the collective one more time. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. May it be so. So we usually conclude our services by sharing our joys and sorrows prayers together. I don't think I'm going to be able to... we can see comments. So if you want to comment with your prayer, if you want to share a joy or sorrow prayer in the comments, and then I'd be happy to hold them here in this space as well. We have our chalice flame burning. I've lit a candle for us. And I would be happy to hold any joys or sorrows or prayers that you have if you'd like to comment with them. And in the meantime, I wanted to share a prayer. It's a responsive prayer, and I think it'll work because you can say the response at home and let it seep into your bones. It's by our UUA president, Susan Frederick Gray. And so the response, which I'll say, but then you can say with me at home if you'd like, is no one is outside the circle of love. That is really the core of our faith as Unitarian Universalists. So I invite you to respond with that from your home. And if you'd like to post joys and sorrows, feel free to do so in the comments. So this is our prayer. We know that hurt moves through the world, perpetrated by action, inaction, and indifference. Our values call us to live in the reality of that heartbreak in our world, remembering that no one is outside the circle of love. We not only affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, we also affirm the inherent wholeness of every being, remembering that no one is outside the circle of love. We know that things break or break down. Promises, friendship, sobriety, hope, communication, so many other things. This breaking happens because our human hearts and our institutions are frail and imperfect. We make mistakes and life is messy, but still, no one is outside the circle of love. With compassion as our guide, in our prayers together we seek the well-being of all people. We believe that we are here to guide one another and be guided towards love, remembering that no one is outside the circle of love. No matter how fractured we are or once were, we can grow in wholeness. We are whole at our core because of the great, unnameable, sometimes inconceivable love that will not let us go. No one is outside the circle of love. May it be so. May you know it to be so in the depths of your hearts. I share the prayer of Andrea, whose heart is aching for our United Methodist LGBTQ family and for the families at the border. And I share your joy, Andrea, to be worshiping together in your PJs and warmth. I'm so glad to have you with us virtually. I will also share a prayer for our unhoused siblings in Colombia and beyond, and a hope that they are finding a warm place to be. A reminder that Wilkes Boulevard United Methodist Church is open as a warm place to be on this cold day, and that Room at the Inn has extended its caring through the week while these cold temperatures persist. So may we share our prayers with those communities, volunteer if we are able, and keep in mind all of those who don't have a warm space to be this morning. And I'm going to wrap up our time together with a little hymn. And it's in keeping with this idea that no one is outside the circle of love. So I'm going to sing it, and if you know it or pick it up and want to join in at home, feel free. It goes like this. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. I'm going to do it one more time. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, Circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. As you go forth from this virtual space back into whatever your day holds, may you be dragged kicking and screaming into heaven here on this earth. May love find you even when you are specifically, strategically hiding from it. And may you feel held by the love that will not let us go. And may you extend that love wider and wider until everyone knows and feels the truth of our faith, that no one is outside the circle of love. Go in blessing and be a blessing to a world that needs our care. And I will see you next week.